In the midst of a lush green forest, a majestic waterfall cascaded down, sparkling under the sunlight. The sound of rushing water blended with the chirping of birds, creating a soothing harmony. The air was cool, fresh, and slightly damp. Not far from the waterfall, beneath the shade of a large tree, a young man lay leisurely. His body sank halfway into the soft grass, eyes closed as he enjoyed the tranquility. In his hand, he held a small clay flask, a faint smile playing on his lips. He felt his life was already perfect. No need to grow stronger, no need to fight, no need to strive. After transmigrating to this world, all he wanted was to enjoy the peace he had never known in his previous life. Suddenly, a greenish light shimmered in the air. From its glow emerged a tiny floating spirit. It introduced itself as the spirit system and, with great enthusiasm, asked the young man to form a bond so they could begin their journey together. Instead of being excited, the young man turned his head away. Clearly uninterested, the spirit tried to persuade him, claiming it could help him master the world's power. But the young man already knew how such systems worked. To him, all he heard were promises that meant more work, something he wanted to avoid at all costs. The little spirit still refused to give up. It pleaded for a chance, promising to work even harder to make its master stronger. But the young man flatly refused. For him, working was something he would never do again in this lifetime. Hearing the rejection, the spirit fell silent, its tiny face filled with sadness and confusion. It began wondering if its master rejected it because it wasn't diligent enough. Not wanting to dwell on the thought, the spirit decided to train and grow stronger. Its body shone brightly before vanishing, leaving the young man to drift back into sleep beneath the tree. Sometime later, the young man was relieving himself in a secluded spot when the spirit suddenly reappeared through a ventilation gap. This time, it announced that its system had been upgraded to the strongest version, with a beginner's task so simple it only required him to bump his head against a wall. The young man immediately refused. His reason was simple: he didn't want to feel pain just to start a system. Waving his hand, he told the spirit to find someone else. Even being foolish, he thought, was impossible to do in peace with a system constantly bothering him. Still unwilling to give up, the spirit appeared again another time. Right when the young man was eating. This time, it offered a new feature, a mission at the Spirit Sword Sect's gate with an exclusive reward. But the young man only gave it a lazy look. To him, the offer was no different from working in an office, something he had abandoned after his death in his previous life. After 2 rejections, the spirit floated weakly in the air, its face gloomy and eyes dim. Inwardly, it grumbled, thinking it still hadn't worked hard enough to make its master accept it. Later, the young man was once again relaxing under the tree when the little spirit appeared in the distance and slowly flew toward him. As it came closer, the young man raised his hand, signaling it to stop talking. He had no interest in hearing the same offers again. But the little spirit persisted. With renewed determination, it announced its latest upgrade, the basic invincible system. The rewards were immense the moment he bonded with it. The young man was ready to refuse again. But one phrase made him pause. He asked what it meant by a lying-down based system. The spirit explained with confidence. This system would make its master invincible in the world simply by lying down. No hard missions, no exhausting battles, just lying down. Though it sounded too good to be true, the young man was tempted. He eyed the spirit suspiciously, trying to make sure it wasn't a trick to fatten him up for slaughter. The spirit straightened up and swore loudly. If it was lying, it was willing to be destroyed by a bug. That honesty made the young man start to believe. Maybe, he thought, it was worth a try this time. Finally, the young man nodded. Just this once, he decided to trust the little spirit. As the words left his lips, the spirit's body glowed brighter and brighter, enveloping them both. The spirit congratulated him, announcing the successful bond. The first reward was given, Emperor's Potential. Instantly, his power soared from mortal level to the early Emperor stage. Shocked yet thrilled, the young man felt a surge of new energy coursing through his body. He could hardly believe he had broken through so drastically in an instant. The spirit delivered more good news. Detecting his heartbeat, the system awarded another breakthrough along with a primordial Tao. Soon after, his power rose from early emperor to the second stage, just by breathing. The young man stared at his hands, feeling the overwhelming power flowing through every vein. He chuckled in satisfaction. Now that he had reached the second stage, he no longer felt the need to pretend to be weak. But such a massive rise in power didn't go unnoticed. A colossal pillar of light shot into the sky from where he stood, making the ground tremble violently. At the spirit sword sect, disciples and elders were stunned. Some thought a great calamity was coming, and they urgently summoned the 9 spirits and called for an emergency council. Elsewhere, observers suspected that a new emperor had been born, the first such emergence in 500 years. Orders were immediately issued to investigate the origin of this emperor. Even in the Xuanji palace of the Great Shang dynasty, the pillar of light was clearly visible. A palace attendant, sensitive to heavenly secrets, rushed to inform the empress. Gradually, the light faded, leaving Wang Yang seated cross-legged under the tree. Though his body felt light and brimming with energy, his thoughts wandered. He let out a long sigh. If only I could have experienced this in my previous life, he thought. In his 26 years of living, he had never even held a woman's hand. Seeing her master's mood turn pensive, the little spirit floated closer. It said the system had detected his desire for a partner and offered to help him choose the most suitable one. Wang Yang stared in disbelief. He hadn't expected the system to help with matters like this. Soon, a glowing panel appeared before him, displaying 3 women. The first had pink hair and attire, with a gentle, soothing face. The second had blue hair, wearing slightly revealing clothing and exuding a cold aura. The third had purple hair, looking seductive and brimming with confidence. The spirit explained that the 3 had been selected by the system as compatible partners for him. Wang Yang simply smirked at the panel. To him, choosing meant having to pursue one of them, and that sounded like work, something he'd avoided from the start. The spirit reminded him not to forget to claim his reward for his earlier request. He looked at the spirit in confusion. How could the reward be given if he hadn't made a choice yet? Before he could ask, a loud voice echoed from nowhere, announcing that the empress of the Great Shang dynasty, Yi Linlang, requested an audience with Emperor Wang Yang. Wang Yang was taken aback, but his smile slowly widened. A faint blush rose on his face, his eyes gleaming. He turned to his little spirit, praising the system for being more useful than expected. It had directly brought him to his future wife. The spirit floated proudly, boasting that it was indeed the greatest system. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the spirit sword sect, elders, key disciples, and the sect master gathered. They were in an uproar upon hearing that the empress who had conquered 6 nations was personally coming. All wondered what was going on. A woman among them asked her male companion if Emperor Wang Yang truly came from their sect, as she had never heard the name before. Her companion shook his head, equally puzzled. The sect master turned to Elder Bai Fang, asking if the sect had ever had an elder named Wang Yang. Bai Fang shook his head, saying he had checked the sect's records and found no such name. Another elder suggested there might be an unregistered disciple in the sword-washing pool named Wang Yang. At that, a man in the hall suddenly remembered something. Their ancestor once had a master with the surname Wang. Bai Fang immediately stood, convinced that this Wang Yang was the true master who had hidden his identity all along to protect the spirit sword sect. The sect master promptly issued orders. A disciple named Chang Feng was to welcome the empress, while the rest would follow him to kneel before their ancestral master. Soon, the group arrived before Wang Yang. They all dropped to their knees, offering full respect. Wang Yang only looked at them in confusion, not understanding what was happening. Inwardly, he asked the system if this was part of the reward. The little spirit shook its head, explaining it was purely coincidental and unrelated to the system. Realizing the situation had already gone this far, Wang Yang decided to go with the flow. He smiled warmly, motioning for them to stand and not be so tense. Once everyone stood, the sect master asked why the empress wished to meet him. Casually, Wang Yang guessed that she might want to propose marriage. His words shocked them all. They couldn't believe the empress would come just for marriage. Elder Bai Fang noted that such an event had never happened before. A marriage proposal directly from the empress was nearly impossible. Still, Wang Yang remained calm. With confident ease, he stated that since the empress had come herself, he would meet her in person. In the grand hall of the Spirit Sword sect, a woman with deep crimson hair sat gracefully, her noble aura unmistakable. She was the empress. Her gaze settled on Chang Feng, and she asked if it was possible that Emperor Wang Yang refused to meet her. Her tone was calm, yet there was a trace of doubt she could not hide. Chang Feng immediately bowed in respect. A thin sheen of sweat dampened his temple, not from heat but from the weight of the question. He explained that Wang Yang's ancestor was currently meditating behind the mountain, and humbly asked the empress to wait a little longer. Before long, Wang Yang appeared in the distance, leading the sect's entourage. His steps were steady, his face exuding authority, and all eyes followed him as he entered the hall. However, the empress's gaze held a flicker of doubt. In her heart, she compared Wang Yang's appearance to that of a legendary emperor and felt something didn't quite match. She even wondered if her royal advisors had misidentified him. Meanwhile, Wang Yang began to feel uneasy. He had just realized he came without changing clothes, still wearing his casual attire. Inwardly, he called upon his system, asking for an outfit that could elevate his presence before the empress. In an instant, light enveloped his body. His plain garments vanished, replaced by a luxurious noble's robe of white, gold, and brown. The system announced he had obtained the Imperial Armor Dragon set, complete with impressive special effects. The female disciples watching the transformation were stunned. They froze in place, realizing the man before them radiated the aura of a true emperor. Elder Bai Fang's eyes welled up with tears. He never imagined that their small sect concealed an expert of emperor-level strength. The empress, who had initially doubted, now rose from her seat. Her heart trembled as she realized Wang Yang's power surpassed even her own. With deep respect, she knelt before Wang Yang, introducing herself as Yi Linlang, Empress of the Great Shang Dynasty. Without any pleasantries, she earnestly requested his aid in saving her kingdom from looming danger. Wang Yang regarded her with surprise. It was hard to believe this was the same woman who had once conquered 6 nations. There was power, determination, and a long history behind those eyes. He asked her to stand, saying he understood the difficulties she faced. However, he reminded her that he had long secluded himself, distancing from worldly affairs. The empress remained on her knees, her gaze unwavering. She declared that to save the great Shang dynasty, she was willing to do anything. The sect master standing behind Wang Yang was astonished at the extent of sacrifice the empress was prepared to make for her people. Wang Yang appeared slightly confused, still unsure of the direction this conversation was heading. With a faint blush and eyes cast downward, the empress spoke softly but clearly. If Wang Yang did not object, she was even willing to offer herself. Elder Bai Fang and the sect master were nearly left gaping. They never expected such a confession in the midst of an official meeting. Wang Yang, however, only grew more puzzled. Although the offer was tempting, he knew accepting it could invite even greater trouble. At that moment, the system spirit appeared, displaying a panel of information. The empress possessed the immortal phoenix physique, a rare body type owned by only a handful in the world. Wang Yang asked if that was something extraordinary. The system firmly replied, if a cultivator engaged in dual cultivation with someone possessing that physique, they could surpass all cultivation realms in a short time. Wang Yang's mind began racing. He studied the empress with both curiosity and caution. On one hand, the potential was enormous. On the other, the risks were just as great, like a grand treasure that came with equal danger. The empress then raised her hand, swearing an oath to the heavenly Tao, if she ever went back on her word, may the wrath of heaven destroy her body and soul. In her heart, she acknowledged that Wang Yang was a man worthy of such a sacrifice. It was no idle vow, and Wang Yang knew its consequences were real. Maintaining his composure, he accepted her offer and asked her to lead the way. Inwardly, he allowed himself a small smile. After all, when else could one marry an empress without paying any price? The empress knelt once more, joined by her followers, expressing her gratitude on behalf of the billions of citizens of the great Shang dynasty. Her voice was filled with heartfelt thanks. But before they could depart, the Spirit Sword sect's master stepped forward, worry written across his face. He pleaded for Wang Yang to reconsider leaving, as without him, the sect would be exposed to enemy attacks and fall into chaos. The system spirit appeared again, this time with good news. The sect master's request had triggered a reward, the 9 Heavens Spirit Sword Array, an imperial-grade formation. Wang Yang smiled faintly, holding a sword-shaped formation core radiating pure energy. He assured the sect master that once activated, this formation would guarantee the sect's safety. Raising his hand, he issued a simple command, activate. The formation's energy surged forth, soaring into the sky above the sect. The single sword multiplied into countless blades, forming a flawless battle array in the air. Brilliant light burst from the formation, enveloping the entire Spirit Sword sect in a protective barrier. Everyone who stepped outside the hall was captivated. They shouted that the sect had entered a new golden age, praising the ancestral master's unimaginable power. Empress Yi Linlang stared at the formation wide-eyed, a bead of sweat forming at her temple. She admitted inwardly that this 9 Heaven Spirit Sword Array was even stronger than her own Imperial Defense Array. The Spirit Sword sect's foundation was far beyond what she had imagined. A young woman from the sect, who had been mesmerized by Wang Yang from the start, now knelt before him. In a gentle but respectful tone, she asked to serve the ancestral master personally. Wang Yang glanced at her, surprised by the request. Internally, he sighed. Was this turning into a battlefield of romance? Wouldn't that only complicate the game? The system spirit appeared once more, now with a wide grin. It revealed that this woman, Lu Qingyao, possessed the spirit resonance physique, a rare body type appearing only once every 10,000 years. Wang Yang asked what was special about it. The system explained that its owner was loyal, dependable, caring, and deeply attuned to her master. Wang Yang smirked. Wasn't that basically a pure-hearted personal attendant? The system enthusiastically agreed. Without hesitation, Wang Yang accepted Qingyao at his side from that moment on. She smiled with joy, expressing her gratitude, while the sect elders felt relieved that Wang Yang still valued old ties. The empress then prepared to depart. She turned to one of her attendants and asked where her phoenix chariot was. Soon, a massive phoenix appeared in the sky, carrying a seat upon its back. Everyone was awestruck. The rainbow phoenix chariot was an immortal-grade mount, equal to an emperor-grade treasure. Wang Yang stroked his chin, admiring the majestic vehicle. Inwardly, he admitted that cultivation world treasures were truly magnificent. He even recalled that in his past life, he had never owned a car. Sensing his thoughts, the system spirit returned once again, announcing that Wang Yang's desire had been detected, rewarding him with an emperor-grade vehicle, the 6-dragon imperial chariot. Hearing this, Wang Yang closed his eyes for a moment, then told everyone present that the situation was urgent. He suggested they use his own vehicle for a faster, safer journey. Qingyao smiled and nodded, though she was curious. If the rainbow phoenix chariot was already rare, what could the ancestral master's chariot possibly look like? With a steady motion, Wang Yang summoned his vehicle. 6-dragon imperial chariot, appear. He commanded. The air trembled, and a magnificent chariot materialized before everyone. 6 mighty dragons drew it, their bodies lean yet muscular like stags, with blazing red manes interwoven with shimmering gold. Each step radiated a commanding presence. 2 drivers in ornate uniforms descended from the chariot, bowing respectfully before Wang Yang. "Greetings, Master." The sect master, Elder Bai Fang, and the sect members could hardly believe their eyes. An emperor-grade legendary vehicle now stood before them, a sight few would ever witness in their lifetime. With elegance, Wang Yang invited the empress to board first. "Please, Your Majesty," he said with regal composure. She responded with a graceful smile and a word of thanks before stepping inside. At the driver's seat, Wang Yang gave a firm signal. "Depart, to the great Shang dynasty." "Yes, Master," the drivers replied in unison. The chariot took off, the 6 dragons soaring through the skies at lightning speed. Below, the sect members waved and shouted, "Safe travels, Ancestral Master." Their cheers followed until the chariot vanished beyond the horizon. At the heart of the great Shang dynasty's imperial palace, guards sat upright, encircling a massive defensive formation. Purple light interlaced with golden radiance flowed across its surface, the imperial master array, the kingdom's final shield. Though they tried to remain steadfast, worry was etched across their faces. Sweat dripped from one guard's brow before he finally spoke in a low voice, admitting he could no longer withstand the relentless onslaught. At the forefront stood a graceful middle-aged woman, the Grand Advisor. Her voice rang out in command, urging everyone to stay focused despite their dwindling strength. "Hold on," she ordered firmly, "at least until His Majesty returns." Outside, the people of Great Shang ran through the streets in panic, shoving and scrambling to find shelter. Their cries filled the air, begging for His Majesty to save them before the Xuanyue Kingdom's forces broke through. Not far from the formation, 2 foreign figures hovered in the sky, eyes locked on the shimmering array. They had just unleashed a tremendous blast, yet the royal shield still held. One was a burly man with short hair and a scowl. The other, long-haired and composed, bore a look of faint surprise in his eyes. Zhang Yunqi, one of Xuanyu's 4 generals, grumbled that the formation looked fragile but was surprisingly hard to breach. Beside him, Song Taiji admitted to its resilience, especially since the defense range had been condensed to cover only the royal capital. The 2 exchanged glances and a few words. Song Taiji summoned a spear wrapped in black and gold energy, while Zhang Yunqi clenched his fists, battle spirit igniting. "Keep up the pressure," Song Taiji said as he readied himself, "leave the rest to me." Inside the formation, the Grand Advisor staggered. Her breathing was ragged, eyes shut tight as she fought against the overwhelming pressure. With regret in her voice, she murmured an apology to His Majesty, admitting she could only hold on this far. Song Taiji raised his spear high. Energy swirled wildly around him, shaping into a massive black dragon streaked with gold. His voice boomed as he unleashed his ultimate technique, Dragon Ascension Emerge. The dragon roared forward, charging ferociously toward the royal barrier. But before it could strike, a sword aura flashed from an unexpected direction. In an instant, the energy dragon split in 2 and vanished like smoke in the wind. Both Xuanyue generals widened their eyes. "Whose sword aura is this?" they exclaimed, instantly bracing for a new threat. In the distance, a majestic war chariot floated in the air, drawn by 6 mighty dragons. From it descended a man with a steady stride, Wang Yang. Song Taiji and Zhang Yunqi stared, their expressions a mix of surprise, irritation, and confusion. Zhang Yunqi stepped forward, growling, "Who dares interfere?" Song Taiji studied Wang Yang warily. Inwardly, he acknowledged that anyone riding a chariot pulled by 6 dragons was no ordinary foe. Speaking in a controlled tone, he asked, "May I know who you are?" From Wang Yang's side, the empress stepped forward, formally introducing him. "Song Taiji, this is Emperor Wang Yang of the Spirit Sword sect." Song Taiji said nothing, but Zhang Yunqi chuckled mockingly. "Spirit Sword sect? Never heard of it. Must be some third-rate sect from the borderlands." Qingyao, standing behind Wang Yang, instantly stepped forward with fury in her eyes. "How dare you insult the Spirit Sword sect?" she snapped. Zhang Yunqi's gaze hardened, his voice dripping with contempt. A lowly nascent soul cultivator has no right to speak to those in the Emperor realm. His oppressive aura weighed heavy in the air. Suddenly, a light shimmered beside Wang Yang. The system spirit appeared, its face carrying an unreadable expression. Its voice echoed in Wang Yang's mind, since your sect is being insulted, host has been granted a saint-level martial art, heaven and earth star technique. Wang Yang glanced at it and smiled faintly. How about you two give me a hand? He asked casually, as if talking to old friends. The remark infuriated Zhang Yunqi, while Song Taiji frowned in displeasure, though he tried to calm his partner. Who do you think you are to ask for our help? Xuanyu's generals. Zhang Yunqi barked. Song Taiji raised a hand. Brother Zhang, calm yourself. Song Taiji then addressed Wang Yang respectfully but firmly. Fellow cultivator, we are under orders to bring back Empress Yi Linlang. Please do not interfere in this matter. Wang Yang's confident smile widened. His eyes gleamed with battle intent as he replied simply, but I refuse. The system spirit appeared again, this time brimming with excitement. Since your killing intent has increased, mastery over the heaven and earth star technique has reached its peak. Song Taiji's gaze darkened. Do not blame us if we show no mercy, he warned, signaling the impending fight. Wang Yang turned to the system spirit. System, how does this heaven and earth star technique work? The spirit explained, it can absorb attacks from opponents in the same realm and reflect them back with double the power. Wang Yang exhaled lightly, then looked at the Xuanyue generals with disdain. You won't even be able to move me. I'll give you 3 chances to strike. If you can injure me, you may do whatever you wish with the Empress. The Empress and Qingyao gasped in alarm. Emperor Wang Yang, what are you? The Empress began. Ancestral Master, don't be reckless. They're incredibly strong, Qingyao warned, but Wang Yang simply raised a calming hand. It's fine. They can't do anything. Zhang Yunqi smirked, accepting the challenge. Very well. If you withstand 3 of my strikes, we will leave. Go ahead, Wang Yang replied, motioning with his hand for him to begin. From afar, Zhang Yunqi unleashed 90% of his power. A colossal blue fist formed in the air, hurtling forward, but it vanished the instant it neared Wang Yang, as if swallowed by the sea. Impossible. 90% of my strength just disappeared. Zhang Yunqi thought, stunned. Unwilling to stop, he charged in. His right fist was now wrapped in a spiraling dragon-shaped aura. Terrifying God Fist, 3rd form, void-shattering dragon fist. He roared. The strike tore through the air with crushing force. The impact thundered across the battlefield, yet Wang Yang remained unmoved inside an invisible shield. Wang Yang's tone dripped with mockery. Is your emperor realm nothing but empty boasts? Zhang Yunqi growled, his killing intent flaring as he prepared his ultimate technique. From behind, Song Taiji shouted urgently, Brother Zhang, don't use that technique, but the warning went unheard. Zhang Yunqi summoned a colossal avatar, channeling his full power. Heavenly King Incantation, Divine Buddha Palm. This time, Wang Yang didn't just stand still. His eyes sharpened. Heaven and Earth Star Technique, Heaven and Star Dharma Body. Layers of dazzling defense erupted around him. The massive palms slammed down with earth-shaking force, but his shield held firm. From the sidelines, Qingyao gasped. Ancestral Master is too strong. The Empress, voice trembling, added, he's withstanding the full power of an emperor's Dharma body. Could his strength surpass the Emperor realm? Wang Yang decided it was time to strike back. A fearsome aura burst from him, spiraling into a storm that swallowed the sky. Heaven and Earth Technique, Heavenly Star Reversal. In a flash, Zhang Yunqi's attack was reflected back with doubled force. The general's body was hurled away, blood spraying in the air. Song Taiji darted forward to catch him before he hit the ground. Rage burned in Zhang Yunqi's eyes. Damn it, he must have cheated. Let me hit him again. But Song Taiji shook his head firmly. Brother Zhang, your body is already heavily damaged. Wang Yang stepped closer, fixing his gaze on Song Tae. If he's done, why don't you try? He said flatly, the challenge clear. Sweat beaded on Song Tae's forehead. Though he kept his composure, his eyes betrayed caution. Thank you for your mercy. We will keep our word and leave. Without further delay, Song Tae carried Jong Yunchi away. The two streaked into the sky, disappearing from sight. Farewell, Song Tae said curtly before vanishing. Once the threat was gone, Qingyao and the Empress rushed to Wang Yang. Their faces were a mix of relief and lingering worry. Ancestral Master, are you hurt? Qingyao asked. I'm fine, Wang Yang replied simply. The Empress looked at him with admiration. That technique was truly extraordinary. He only gave a faint smile. It's nothing. The Empress then expressed her gratitude. Now, the great Shang dynasty owes you a great debt, Emperor Wang Yang. We are truly thankful. We will hold a banquet at the Imperial Palace shortly, and I hope you will attend. Wang Yang nodded. Since it's your invitation, I won't refuse. As they descended to the ground, the court officials of Great Shang hurried over, their faces alight with joy and reverence. Your Majesty, they called. The Empress stood before them, her voice strong yet graceful. This is Emperor Wang Yang of the Spirit Sword sect. From this day forth, he shall be the supreme ruler of our great Shang dynasty. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some widened their eyes before quickly kneeling. What, the supreme ruler? One muttered. Then voices rang out together. Greetings, Your Majesty. Long live the Emperor. Wang Yang stood still, slightly puzzled by the scene. Just what kind of position is this supreme ruler? He wondered. The system spirit popped up beside him, wearing a mischievous grin. With a wink, it said, Congratulations, Master, for earning the people's praise. You've gained merit points. Wang Yang frowned, irritated. He grabbed the system spirit. What's a merit point? Giving me mission points without telling me? Explain now or I'll sever our bond. The spirit squirmed. No, it's not like that. Still unsatisfied, Wang Yang shook it. What's the meaning of merit points? The cultivation world doesn't have things like that. Finally, the spirit pleaded, please, let me explain. Merit points come from the admiration and praise of others. Doing good deeds, saving lives, even saving a nation can grant you merit. Wang Yang furrowed his brow. So just by being a good person, you can become strong? Then why bother cultivating? The spirit patiently replied, gathering such widespread praise isn't easy. But a king or ruler can earn it faster. Once used to form the merit dharma body, one can easily reach power equivalent to the nascent soul realm. I see, Wang Yang murmured, glancing at the Empress. So, does the Empress also cultivate using the merit dharma body? The spirit shook its head quickly. No, the Empress is a rare dual cultivator. Before it could finish, the Empress turned with a gentle smile. Emperor Wang Yang, is something wrong? Do you dislike the capital? Wang Yang quickly clamped a hand over the spirit's mouth, forcing a polite smile. No, I just suddenly remembered something. Inwardly, he thought, her value just keeps going up. On the way to the palace, the people of the great Shang dynasty knelt in respect. Cheers of praise echoed, and some whispered in awe at the sight of Wang Yang walking alongside the Empress, his aura making them believe he was truly the savior. Qingyao couldn't hide her admiration. In her heart, she resolved that even if she was just a servant, she wanted to remain by the side of the ancestral master, whom she found incredibly handsome. Upon reaching the palace courtyard, the staff immediately welcomed the Empress. With a broad smile, she introduced Wang Yang and ordered the grandest feast to be prepared in honor of this distinguished guest. However, the Empress's expression turned confused when she realized a certain important figure was absent. A staff member explained gravely that the Grand Advisor was sustaining the national defense formation by sacrificing her life force and was now in critical condition. Worry made the Empress raise her voice, demanding why she was only told now and asking where the Grand Advisor was. The staff replied that the Grand Advisor was heading to the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Wang Yang calmed the Empress, suggesting they visit her first. The empress agreed, apologizing for losing her composure earlier. In the pavilion, the grand advisor lay weak, surrounded by disciples begging her to hold on. The atmosphere was filled with anxiety. The empress entered with Wang Yang, calling out to her teacher with concern. Though weak, the grand advisor reminded her to address her by her official title in public. From behind, Wang Yang looked at the woman, silently acknowledging her beauty despite being on the verge of death. The grand advisor turned her gaze to Wang Yang and thanked him for saving Empress Linlang and the entire Great Shang dynasty. Wang Yang responded briefly, saying it was no big deal. Still worried, the empress ordered that an immortal physician be summoned at once. But the grand advisor refused, explaining that only the rare 9-cycle rebirth pill from the upper immortal realm could save her. And she was willing to let fate take its course. Suddenly, the system spirit appeared with its cute face, announcing it had detected an urgent need for such a pill. In its hands, a glowing pill materialized, making Wang Yang inwardly annoyed that the system had dragged him into something like this again. Wang Yang glanced at the worried empress, then back at the frail grand advisor. In his mind, he weighed the choice: keep the pill for himself or use it to save her life. In the end, he handed her the pill. Calmly, he told the empress that he happened to have the medicine she needed. Inwardly, he admitted it would be too much of a pity to let such a beautiful woman die. The empress was moved, thanking him, while the disciples cheered joyfully. Once the pill was consumed, the grand advisor's body radiated a surge of energy that astonished everyone present. Wang Yang marveled at its effect. No wonder it could only be found in the upper immortal realm. The empress, curious, asked if her teacher had just broken through to a higher power level. With her vitality restored, the grand advisor stood and bowed to Wang Yang, acknowledging that thanks to the pill, not only had her wounds healed, but she had also advanced to the mid-stage of the immortal king realm. Wang Yang modestly replied that it was simply the right thing to do. A servant came to announce that the feast was ready. The empress invited Wang Yang to join, and he agreed. In the grand hall, the banquet began with dances and wine. Wang Yang, who had not tasted alcohol since arriving in this world, began to wonder how strong the drinks here could be. The system spirit appeared again, informing him that it had just given him an imperial-level technique, the Wine Chi Dragon technique, that allowed his body to refine alcohol, medicine, and even poison into pure energy. Wang Yang smiled with satisfaction, confident that he no longer had to worry about anything he consumed. The empress stood, raising her first glass of wine. She toasted to honor Wang Yang for saving the grand advisor. Cheers erupted across the hall. They drank together. Soon, the empress raised a second glass, this time on behalf of the entire people of the Great Shang dynasty as a sign of gratitude. Everyone present bowed their heads in respect to Wang Yang, reaffirming the magnitude of his service to their nation. The empress then offered a third glass. With firm resolve, she declared that from this moment, Wang Yang would be the supreme ruler of the Great Shang dynasty. A brief silence fell over the hall before murmurs of shock spread. Many were astonished. 2 emperor realm masters in one dynasty was an extraordinary force. But before they could discuss further, the empress boldly announced she would marry Wang Yang and asked the grand advisor to choose an auspicious day for the wedding. Qingyao, who had been watching, immediately knelt. She insisted that such a marriage should not be rushed. The empress looked at her irritably, reminding her that she had sworn before the heavens to marry Wang Yang, and questioned what right a junior had to oppose her. Qingyao rose, trying to explain her meaning. She argued that a wedding required proper ceremonies and decorum. If handled solely by the Great Shang dynasty, the Spirit Sword sect would appear to have neglected their ancestral master. Wang Yang simply sat back, sipping his wine, enjoying the sight of 2 beautiful women arguing. Inwardly, he found this trip truly entertaining. The system spirit suddenly appeared again, this time announcing it was looking for a wedding gift. Wang Yang hurriedly protested, reminding it that the wedding was far from certain. The mood shifted when a messenger shouted from outside, announcing the arrival of left minister Qin Wenyuan of the Zan Yu dynasty. The news caused an uproar. Some were surprised, others uneasy. The empress stood, her expression a mix of shock and slight panic. She hadn't expected him to be sent, which signaled major tension between the two dynasties. Wang Yang, unfamiliar with the name, asked who Qin Wenyuan was. The empress hesitated, before the Grand Advisor explained that the Zan Yu dynasty had 7 emperor realm masters, and Qin Wenyuan was one of the 2 highest ministers. Wang Yang wondered why everyone seemed so worried over an emperor realm master. The empress finally explained that Qin Wenyuan's strength was not only in power but also in intellect. He was an undefeated strategist capable of destroying or saving a nation with his mind alone. Wang Yang tried asking the system about his opponent's power level, but the system replied that Qin Wenyuan was beyond its detection range. Wang Yang brushed back his hair and told the system to stand down for now. He decided to assess Qin Wenyuan's strength only after meeting him in person. The system agreed. Silence fell when Qin Wenyuan's voice was heard outside. In a challenging tone, he asked if the master refused to meet him because he was weaker. The empress lowered her head and urged Wang Yang to leave immediately. She said there was no need to involve himself in the worldly affairs of the dynasty and even promised to repay her debt to him in the next life. The Grand Advisor opposed the idea, warning that if the empress gave in to the enemy's demands, millions in the Great Shang dynasty would suffer. Qingyao also spoke up, urging Wang Yang to return to the Spirit Sword sect. In her view, the Zan Yu dynasty was too dangerous to underestimate. But Wang Yang merely complained that he hadn't even enjoyed his second glass of wine before trouble arrived. The Empress and Grand Advisor were startled as Wang Yang began giving his advice. The Grand Advisor quickly knelt, praising the Supreme Ruler for thinking of the people in such a difficult time. Everyone present bowed, calling Wang Yang's kindness a blessing for the dynasty and its people. Wang Yang himself felt a bit awkward, realizing too late that the Grand Advisor had become the center of attention. The Empress, already irritated, emphasized that Wang Yang was a distinguished guest of the Great Shang dynasty and questioned their audacity in asking him to fight for them. Wang Yang reassured her, saying that a mere lowly minister like that was no match for him. He promised he would return soon. Hearing this, the Empress smiled, her eyes half closed and her cheeks flushed. She could only hope news of victory would soon arrive from Wang Yang. In the air, a flash of blue energy lit up in Qin Wenyuan's palm. His gaze was sharp, his lips curling into a faint, mocking smile. Inwardly, he scoffed, thinking that the Great Shang dynasty preferred to invite others with the wine of punishment rather than the wine of peace. Just as the tension reached its peak, Wang Yang appeared. His steps were steady, his voice firm as it cut through the air, asking Qin Wenyuan to wait a moment. The two stood face to face. Wenyuan stared intently, confirming his opponent's identity, while Wang Yang humbly claimed he was just a wanderer unworthy of such attention. Wenyuan paused, sizing up his opponent. He knew that anyone capable of breaking through Zhang Yun's defense with a single strike could not be ordinary. In a flat yet meaningful tone, he declared that in the Xuanyue dynasty, Wang Yang's position would not be inferior to his own. But Wang Yang calmly refused. He said he was merely a mountain dweller and advised Xuanyue and Great Shang not to provoke each other. Wenyuan lifted his chin, his eyes full of conviction. He said that Empress Yi Linlang had conquered 6 nations with blood, and everything she did was simply to seek justice. With a calm yet firm tone, Wang Yang replied that although those conquests were forced, the current peace was proof of the Empress's wisdom. Wenyuan smirked, praising his opponent's eloquence. Yet he remained resolute, he would take Yi Linlang, no matter what. Wang Yang was unprovoked. He suggested they enjoy their conversation and avoid unnecessary bloodshed. But Wenyuan refused to back down. He challenged Wang Yang, asking if he had another solution should this conflict prove unavoidable. Wang Yang sighed lightly, then proposed one thing. This dispute need not end in battle. It could be settled through a contest of words. Wen Yuan agreed, but with a challenging tone, vowing to defeat him through the art of Chinese poetry. Suddenly, Wen Yuan's energy formed a giant go board in the air. Wang Yang froze, his face showing panic, especially since he had no idea how to play. The system spirit suddenly appeared, its voice echoing in Wang Yang's ears. It announced the initiation of the AlphaGo protocol since its host didn't know the game. Wang Yang was stunned, asking if it was like the one on Earth. With pride, the system replied that this was the newest version, capable of defeating World Go champions, even with 3 stones missing. Wang Yang's smile grew, imagining conquering the world with just this skill. The match began. Wang Yang allowed Wen Yuan to take the first move, and even gave him 2 extra turns. Wen Yuan was startled by this, feeling insulted. He reminded Wang Yang that his Go skills were famous throughout the nation. But Wang Yang stood by his words, ready to accept the consequences if he lost. Wen Yuan then drew the Moyan Tianzu sword, declaring that if he lost, the blade would belong to Wang Yang, and he would leave without looking back. Meanwhile, the system activated its new ability, able to read the opponent's moves and predict win or loss probabilities. Wang Yang smiled in satisfaction. Confident this time victory was his. Over the array, the two began their battle of strategy. The spectators were shocked, unable to believe their master dared challenge the left minister who had defeated 18 national champions. From afar, the empress called for silence, trusting Wang Yang's promise of victory. But the grand advisor was uneasy, feeling the chances of winning were slim, while Qingyao admired her master's unexpected Go talent. As the game progressed, Wen Yuan's expression shifted. He inwardly admitted that his opponent's moves were flawless, making it hard for him to advance. Wang Yang, meanwhile, hid a pleased smile. He found it amusing to defeat a master with nothing but the system's help, a cheat that felt immensely satisfying. Wen Yuan was increasingly cornered. Even with 2 opening moves granted, he was losing in strategy. He began to realize Wang Yang's ability far exceeded his expectations. Wen Yuan's followers whispered among themselves, puzzled why their master hadn't signaled anything. Some believed he must have a backup plan. But mid-game, Wen Yuan's hairs stood on end. He felt something strange, like his opponent could read his next move. His confusion grew when he saw Wang Yang barely looking at the board, acting completely relaxed. Doubt crept in. Had his opponent already anticipated every hidden plan? Wang Yang then placed his final stone with a calm smile, thanking him for the match, signaling it was over. Wen Yuan was stunned, unable to believe he'd lost. Impossible, he uttered, rejecting reality. His body trembled violently, then fresh blood spurted from his mouth. Wang Yang looked on, a mix of surprise and disbelief. Inwardly, he muttered for his opponent to stop overdoing the dramatic blood vomiting. The system spirit reappeared, voice brimming with excitement. It reported that the mental blow from the game had caused Qin Wenyuan's cultivation realm to drop to a mortal king. Wang Yang eyed it suspiciously, asking why it looked so awkward. Somewhat embarrassed, the system admitted there was a bug preventing him from receiving his victory reward. Wang Yang just burst out laughing at the absurdity. The match officially ended. Wang Yang thanked the still stunned Wen Yuan. In the distance, Song Taiji and his partner gathered their strength to attack. With a loud shout, they unleashed their ultimate moves: Meteor Spear Technique, Meteor's Farewell and Blazing Fury Axe, Explosive Flame, creating a deadly strike toward Wang Yang. Taken by surprise, Wang Yang was almost caught off guard. But a protective light appeared around him just in time. Closing his eyes calmly, he chanted his Heaven and Star Technique, Heaven and Earth Realm, forming an impenetrable shield. The two attackers exchanged signals, both impressed and frustrated by his defense. Song Taiji even urged his partner to try attacking from another angle. With a cold gaze, Wang Yang opened his eyes. He decided to hold back no longer and unleashed Heaven and Star Technique. Heavenly Star Reversal. A blast of energy reversed their attacks, sending them flying. Shock filled their faces. Wen Yuan's voice rang out, ordering them to stop. He stepped forward, bowing to Wang Yang and admitting he had underestimated him. Wang Yang accepted the salute with indifference, simply saying there was no need to see him off, making it clear he wanted this meeting over. Song Tiyi's companion glared, questioning why Wen Yuan hadn't attacked earlier to eliminate this threat. Wen Yuan only sighed, saying Wang Yang's mastery of Go might have reached the Tao of strategy. This drew a scoff from his companion, who said Go had nothing to do with power. But Wen Yuan's serious gaze remained, suggesting it might even reach the level of heavenly Tao sage. His words shocked his companion. Wen Yuan declared he would advise their ruler not to provoke Shang dynasty again to avoid disaster. Meanwhile, the system spirit's body trembled, emitting dense purple aura. Wang Yang looked at it curiously, likening its expression to someone holding something in. Finally, the system produced a crystal that shone with rainbow light. Its face showed relief, as if a great burden had been lifted. Wang Yang eyed the crystal with curiosity, asking what it was. The system explained it was a heavenly Tao fragment, the only key to reaching the heavenly Tao sage realm. Without further words, Wang Yang closed his eyes and grasped the fragment. Brilliant light enveloped him, releasing immense energy that shook the surroundings. Elsewhere, an old man meditating in a cave snapped his eyes open. He recognized the aura as a heavenly Tao fragment, something that shouldn't appear before the great battle for the Tao. In another place, another old man smiled faintly, knowing chaos would soon engulf the world because of its appearance. Far away, a woman's silhouette sensed the fragment. Her voice was soft, full of curiosity, wondering who had obtained it, saying she had waited for this moment a long time. Not far from her, two figures stood on a flying carpet. One looked serious, asking if the other had planned this. But the other only smiled faintly, saying the heavenly Tao fragment was the sole path to sagehood, and he would never give it up. Meanwhile, Wang Yang and the system were in his sea of consciousness. A grand altar stood in the center, surrounded by an invisible, majestic aura. The system explained this was his heavenly Tao altar. With an instructive tone, the system asked Wang Yang to place the fragment at the altar's center to activate its hidden power. Wang Yang raised the fragment and placed it gently where instructed. Instantly, a giant pillar of energy shot upward, shaking the entire space. The power immediately advanced his cultivation, from Emperor Realm Stage 3 to Stage 4, and granted him level 9 Tao of strategy, known as Hidden Wisdom. He was stunned, realizing not only had his realm increased, but he had also obtained a new heavenly Tao level. His eyes narrowed, trying to grasp the meaning of this newfound power. The system explained that Hidden Wisdom granted him 3 black and white stones, each capable of providing a unique opportunity when used. Wang Yang asked if the stones were for external or internal use. The system replied that as a game master now, he could use them to help or hinder others. Hearing the title, Wang Yang nodded with a faint smile, admitting it sounded impressive. The system looked at him with pride, explaining that a game master views the world as a game board, with every being as a piece, each under the game master's control. Wang Yang raised his hand, cutting off the long speech. He wanted to know the point, whether he had gained powers beyond playing Go. Confidently, the system said that for now, Wang Yang was immune to binding techniques from enemies of the same realm. He could even negate bindings from Emperor Realm beings, even if from the supreme tier. Wang Yang snorted lightly, thinking this wasn't that useful. In novels, protagonists could always kill across realms, so this felt rather ordinary. Wang Yang's consciousness returned to reality. He stood before the Empress and followers, receiving praise for his dazzling Go skills. Casually, he informed the Empress that Qin Wenyuan's Tao heart had shattered from the loss, dropping him to immortal king level. For now, he wouldn't be a problem for the Shang dynasty. The followers bowed in admiration, while the Empress called for wine to toast their lord's victory. Wang Yang held a ghost stone, tossing it into the air. It glowed before vanishing, triggering a great change in the palace's imperial protection array. Golden lightning enveloped the array, strengthening it further. At the same time, the system appeared again, telling him he had enhanced the array and linked with it. As a reward, he received the sacred grade sword technique, Heaven 9 Tribulation Sword. The Grand Advisor, witnessing the change, was shocked, while Wang Yang smiled faintly, realizing the white stone's function, to turn all beings into pieces on his game board. A mischievous thought crossed Wang Yang's mind, imagining the Empress in a seductive maid outfit shyly calling him husband. Back in reality, he reassured everyone in a calm tone, explaining he had made a small improvement to the Imperial Protection Array. Now, unless an enemy from the Supreme Realm appeared, the array could block all attacks. The followers looked on in awe, admitting inwardly that Emperor Wang Yang's abilities far surpassed anything they had imagined. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you'd like to hear more, please like this video, subscribe, and let's keep the adventure going together.